Hello, I know that we're still working on the nutrition unit. We're still finishing up some labs. So you are going to be starting the next unit on your own. And the next unit is transport. So there's actually a transport 3A and a 3B. 3A, we're going to look at the circulatory system, and 3B, your respiratory system, because they both transport things in your body. And again, you'll notice as we're studying them, we're learning each system independently, but they overlap. The whole body's interconnected. So you're going to see some things come up in this unit that we've talked about in previous units. So we're not just separate systems, we are interconnected, homeostasis. Okay, so transport 3A is our circulatory system, or circulation. One of my favorite jokes, I think I have on all of them: two blood cells met and fell in love, but alas, it was all in vain. That's a good one. Okay, so just a brief introduction to the circulatory system. So we're going to be focusing on blood. The first part of the unit is about blood. What is it made of? What is it functions? Blood types, blood transfusions. Then we'll look at the vessels that carry the blood, your arteries, your veins, your capillaries, and then we're going to look at the heart and the structure and function of the heart, and then we'll end with cardiovascular diseases. So I think a lot of this you probably studied in previous years, especially in phys ed and health. So I think you know some of this information already. Okay, so what are the functions of blood? Well, there's a few functions of blood. The main one is to transport. That's why it's under the transport unit. 3A transport is the circulatory system. So clearly it transports things. What does it transport? Well, it transports nutrients, oxygens to the cell, and then waste and carbon dioxide away from the cell. I think we've mentioned that cellular respiration. So the blood brings things into the cell that it needs, and it takes away waste that it doesn't. So it's a transport system. The other one is to regulate. Oh, we've talked about body temperature, your thermoregulation, body fluids, osmoregulation. So when we talked about homeostasis, our first unit, the blood is what connects all these systems together and is involved in our homeostasis. So we've already talked about body temperature and body fluids, but that blood helps regulate them. And then protect against disease and infections. So we talk about the white blood cells. They have a key role in your immunity. We'll talk about immunity in a unit later on. So those are the functions of the blood: to transport, to regulate, and to protect. Now, what is it made up of? Well, there's two different parts to blood. Over half of it is plasma, and the plasma is basically the liquid part of your blood, and 45% of it is cells. Now, out of the 45% that are cells, 95 of the 45% is red blood cells. So most of your cells are red blood cells. The remaining 5% of the 45% is white blood cells and platelets. There's a little diagram at the side. I don't know how well you can see, but you do have these notes at home. So that most of it, 55%, is that liquid plasma part. And then that 5%, here it says 4%. I said 5% in my notes would be your white blood cells and platelets. And then 95% of the 45% is your red blood cells. And that's a nice little visual of your blood gushing out of a vessel, a blood vessel there, showing the plasma, the liquid plasma, the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. Oh, a fun fact: about 1 liter of blood just passed through your liver in the last minute. And I forget which class was asking me how long you could live without a spleen, how long you could live without a pancreas. I like that that's how you think when we take these structures. If your liver stopped working, you would die within 24 hours. So we've already talked about the liver in another unit, so we're going to talk about it again in the circulatory system as well. So we did say that plasma is the liquid part of your blood. Over half, 55% of your blood is plasma. Now 95% of the 55% is water. So most of the plasma is liquid, but not all of it is. So it does contain some things like proteins, which we already learned about in our last unit. Glucose, we learned about in our last unit. Vitamins and minerals, we skipped over this year, but I did still give you the PowerPoints, and I think you seem to have a good knowledge of vitamins and minerals already from your phys ed classes. Some dissolved gases and some cellular waste. So not all of it is water, most of it is, but it does contain those items. Now, blood cells. So we just said there's 3 different types of blood cells: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The rest of today's lesson, we're just going to focus on red blood cells, and your assignment today is just focusing on red blood cells. Your next lesson will focus on the platelets and the white blood cells. Okay, so erythrocytes is just another name for red blood cells. 25 million, 5 liters of blood. So on average, you have about 5 liters of blood. So think about a 2-liter pop bottle. So about 2.5 of those. That's it. That's not a lot, but that's all the blood that your body needs. And that blood is constantly circulating throughout your body, basically keeping you alive. It's fascinating. The shape it's a unique shape. It does not have a nucleus. That is very unique. We talked about a nucleus in our first unit. Does not have a nucleus, so it has a biconcave disc. So it's thinner in the middle because there's no nucleus, and thicker on the outside. So kind of, I think, maybe a donut shaped biconcave disc, and it's small. Obviously, it's small. If there's 25 million of them and 5 liters, they have to be small. Why are they small? Oh, Unit 1, Lab 6. Small shape makes them more efficient at diffusion. Look how everything's connecting from unit to unit. So as we learn, you're going to see repetition because, like I said, each system is interconnected to each other. That's how we work. Fascinating. Okay, RBC, not the, what is it, not the convention center downtown, it's the red blood cell. One red blood cell carries 250 million molecules of hemoglobin. I don't think we've talked about hemoglobin yet, so that's a new term for us. Hemoglobin is what carries the oxygen from the lungs to the cells and your carbon dioxide from cells to the lungs. So in Unit 3B, when we talk about the respiratory system, we're going to learn how oxygen comes in and carbon dioxide leaves. But it's the hemoglobin in the red blood cells that actually does the carrying of that. And when you do your assignment today, it talks about hemoglobin a little bit more detail. And there's a picture of that. And they have a short lifespan, only 120 days, so your body's constantly making new red blood cells. We don't, like our body, there's so much going on in our body that we're unaware of. And they are made in the bone marrow. So you're going to see this diagram a lot because we're going to learn about the cells and where they're made. So this is the marrow, the inside part of the bone. So the bone marrow, that's where the red blood cells are produced. And then again, there's a diagram, that's the red blood cell, that's looking from the front, and that's the biconcave disc. No nucleus inside, in the middle, so it's thinner. Fun fact, so we talked about you have 250 million red blood cells in the 5 liters of blood. 1 drop of blood, I did give blood over the spring break, so before they do the blood, before you can donate blood, they do a hemoglobin test to see that you have enough iron in your body. So what they do is they just poke your finger with a little needle and they take 1 drop of blood, and that 1 drop of blood has 5 million red blood cells. So we said they're really small, but they're really, really, really small. By the time each of your red blood cells dies, remember we said they only last 120 days, it has traveled around the body 250,000 times. So they have a short lifespan, but they're busy. That 120 days that they are alive, they're just going through your body, every system, every organ, like every cell of your body. Okay, so that is, like I said, fascinating. I know I say that word a lot. Donated blood. We're going to talk about blood types and transfusions later on. Like I said, I give blood. I give blood as often as I can. I've given 3 times already through the pandemic. Obviously, you can't just go every week. They do make you wait a certain amount of time, but especially during the pandemic, and not just even the pandemic, I've known too many people that have gone through just certain illnesses and struggles in their life where they literally, their life depended on blood transfusion. So my simple way to help people out, and especially as a biology teacher, blood, it's very simple. You just donate blood. You literally are saving a life by donating blood. So I try to donate blood as often as I can. Yeah. So donated blood is separated into red cells, white cells, and plasma. That means each donation can help 3 people who need any one of them during surgery. And like I said, who receives it? Well, there's different people who donate, who need to receive blood: children with cancer, liver, kidney diseases, surgery, other medical conditions, cancer patients. A friend of mine, dad, had cancer. He has since passed away, but he had to go for regular blood transfusions in the last couple of years of his life. So, like I said, there's a lot of different people that just need blood transfusions. So I think you do have to be 17 years old to donate, but if you can, it's just a simple thing you can do that literally saves a life. Okay, and that's it for today's notes. So your assignment today is 6-3 red blood cells. And again, it's back to those fill in the blank sheets. When they say read the text, they don't mean textbooks, they mean the text in the sheet. So hopefully that gives you an introduction to this unit and what it's going to be about. And then when you're at school, we're still finishing up those few labs of nutrition. So you're gonna have to do a couple of the blood assignments at home on your own, but pretty soon we're going to be back on track when we're done the labs and we can go back to our regular class calls and our regular class discussions and doing the same thing at the same time. But I think this isn't that bad, and I think you've studied this in previous years. Okay, good luck with today's assignment.